Good morning, everybody. Last time I was telling you about how I reached Palghat on the 14th of March 1973. Myself and had accompanying one friend, Mr. George, who is no more. We were friends in college. We landed in a room in Breeze Lodge, opposite to the then Olavakod railway station, currently Palakkad Junction station. And there, in the hotel, rather the lodge, there was no hotel in that time. There was another friend, a senior man from my native place. He was a neighbor. He was working in FCI, Mr. Skaria. We met him. We had a round walking in the Olavakod to get accustomed. I had only limited knowledge about places in Kerala. Being a man from a remote village of Kottayam district, our world was around our village. So it was the first time I escaped, or rather, I came out of my village, my small world, and entered into a larger world. Olavakod was a very busy place even on those days. The roads were very congested, the junction point, vehicles, auto rickshaws, two-wheelers, cycles, bullock carts, and even horse carts were there. There was no space in the junction point, and we had our dinner. By the time we were walking in the road, we met with another pair, a father and son. It was Mr. Alexander, who also was supposed to report, like me, to the divisional office the next day. Next day morning by 9 o'clock, we reached the divisional office. We reported to the personnel branch. We were asked to wait outside. There was a waiting place. For provision for sitting and all were there. Fan was there. We were sitting there. And our number was 9 at the time. As elderman, Mr. P.V. Govindanasan Unni, then M.B. Uttam Kumar, Raghavan, Alexander, Narayana, Tulasidas, Bhaskaran, Devendran. Like that we were 9 people including me, total, for the medical examination. On that day evening, we were given orders for attending medical examination in the hospital. Then the hospital time was over. But evening itself, we reported to the hospital, and then there was only one qualified doctor who was the DMO at the time. DMO was the chief doctor in the hospital, Railways Hospital. He said he cannot attend everybody. Actually, we were 10 people. There was one Mr. Rajagopal also who was rejected in the medical subsequently. And that is how we became 9. And he talked to the doctor at Pothanur, another senior man. And he said, I will examine everybody, you send them here. On 16th, we went to Pothanur. Raghavan was a locally known man, he was from Palghat, so he had knowledge of going to Pothanur, etc. Govindanasan Unni also was experienced man in the area. So by next time, by a convenient train, we went to Coimbatore. There had been a lot of trains on those days between Coimbatore and Palghat. We went to Pothanur Railway Hospital. By noon, Pothanur doctor conducted the medical examination of everybody, except that Mr. Rajagopal, who was already working in the Kerala government. He had slight TB infection on those days. And the doctor suggested him to go to Theevandiexpress Medical College. And luckily or accidentally, it was the first time that he was identified as a TB patient. Doctor told him, by 1 year treatment, you will be free. And after that, you can approach railways, provided you are interested in coming to railways. General manager has got the powers to give you another appointment after that. Anyway, best wishes, gentlemen, you can go like that. And he gave us the medical examination result. With that, we reported to the office on 17th. And that day they processed the paper, everything. And by evening, we were given orders for remitting 300 rupees as caution deposit with the divisional cashier at Olavakot station platform. We had a separate cash office at Olavakot platform. We were directed there to remit the amount. Everything was strange to us. So strange in the sense it was new. We didn't know the formalities. We went to the cash office the previous evening for remitting. Actually, there was a cashier. His name was Mohandas Balia, a very friendly man. He said the cash office is closed for today's transaction. Now we have no way because the cash balance is also closed. We cannot interfere in that. Tomorrow morning you come here. By 9 o'clock we will be opening the office. By 9:10 your receipts will be given. You can remit the amount and report to the office. Next day morning we went there. We remitted the amount. We got the cash receipt. With that we approached the personal office again. And by noon we were given orders to proceed to Tiruchirappalli, 9 people. There was a train, Theevandiexpress Express, no, not Theevandiexpress Express, Island Express, by which 3 compartments were then supposed to go to Tiruchirappalli. And all of us could not get reservation, only 5 or 6 people got reservation. But we adjusted in the coach, sleeper coach, and we went by Island Express, E-Road, and from E-Road to Tiruchirappalli by another train, where the coaches were through to Tiruchirappalli, and we reached Tiruchirappalli early morning by 5:30. Trichy was, of course, Trichy Junction station was a very busy station. It had no night, it was never sleeping. But the surroundings were getting a polly. Early morning, we got out. We got a cycle rickshaw for taking our luggage. And we were told it is the next compound, training school compound. There, warden will be available at any time. Especially when new batches are coming, he will be ready to receive the new trainees. With that, but it was a journey of more than 1.5 kilometers from the railway station because the training school had a very large compound. In between there was the divisional office. We went there and we secured our luggage and approached the warden. By showing our appointment order, we got accommodation. The hostel building was itself a wonderful sight for me. It was an old bungalow which was used by the agent of the South Indian Railways. South Indian Railways was a railway pre-independence, a British company. It was owned by British government. After the nationalization of Indian Railways, all merged, South Maratha Railway, South Indian Railways, everything merged together to form Southern Railway. And this hostel building was the accommodation for the agent of those days. It was a large building, very tall building, each floor it had only 2 floors, first floor and ground floor. It was about 15 feet high, each floor. And central rooms, inside room halls were all wooden pavement on the floor. Floor was wooden because it was ballroom for them. They had been dancing there. There was a sizable population of British people, original British people in Tiruchirappalli on those days. And all the quarters allotted to British officers were very large bungalows. By the side of that bungalow, there was another building. Probably might have been of his PA or a driver or somebody, and that was occupied by our superintendent. We were provided accommodation on the veranda. It was a good accommodation, even in March. On those days, it was March 19th when we reached Trichinopalli. It was not that hot as I felt at Palghat. Palghat, I found it very difficult, the climate. It was too hot. Trichinopalli was actually a hotter place, but this compound was with full of trees, so it was a better place. Likewise, we started our accommodation, and by 9 o'clock we reported to the school. There again, we had to enter to the muster, and that was the first time we officially joined railways through the muster roll of the Zonal Training School. Then it was called like that. It had a superintendent, Mr. Zakius. It had a chief instructor, I remember, Mr. Kader Khan, L. Kader Khan. Morning there was a gathering, a prayer gathering. Prayer of Hindus, Muslims and Christians were read out, and everybody, and finally a national anthem. Everybody used to assemble, instructors, duty staff of the school, everybody used to assemble for that. Necessary instructions to new batches also will be given there. And we had 9 months training at the school, of which 3 months were purely allotted to telegraphy, 4 months, 2 months each for general rules and safety, and 2 months for commercial, and also 2 months for line training. That is the curriculum there. Of which this 4 months course, it is 45 days, and last 1 month for everybody's reorientation in the school. We were allotted telegraphy for the first time, and 3 months course. During these telegraphy classes, if power failed, class is off. Every day at 12 o'clock, power failure will be there. There was no substitute arrangement for that. So there will not be any class at the time, but we have to remain in the classes. The discipline was very strict. That was the time we used for writing letters. Telegraphy, Morse code. Now it has become obsolete and nobody is studying it in railways. Not in P&D, not even P&D uses it nowadays. On those days, railways and P&D, sometimes some places it was linked. Railways were giving messages to P&D, and P&D was giving messages to railways also. So telegraphy was an integral part of the working of a station master. At major points there were independent telegraphists. At smaller points, station master himself had to use it. So we were told that we have to study it seriously, and we started our studies of telegraphy. We were all very fast to pick up the telegraphy classes. The one thing I felt rather horrible at Trichinopalli Training School was the canteen. When we went outside for eating only, we understood how horrible the food in the canteen was. He was giving us lunch for 50 paise. Outside there were good hotels, both vegetarian and non-vegetarian. There was a hotel, Durga, which was giving meals at 1 rupee per head. And that even when we purchased 10 tickets together, a bunch of 10 tickets available for 9 rupees. And I started taking 3 meals a day. At 9 o'clock itself, meals will be ready in the hotel. Lunch break 1 meals and night 1 meals. So 2 rupees 70 paise for a day's food. Tea, other things were extra. Likewise, I said goodbye to my canteen food. I went there. Outside I started eating. It was very important for me how the food is. When I took outside, I started loving the vegetarian foods of Tiruchirappalli. I never go to a non-vegetarian hotel. I was not taking even eggs on those days, pure vegetarian. It was very easy to manage by taking pure vegetarian food at Tiruchirappalli. Then the telegraphy classes went for 3 months without any problem. And finally the exam for telegraphy came. The exam was very easy. Our regular instructor was our warden also, Mr. Srinivasan. And the examiner was Mr. Subramaniam, another instructor. Subramaniam was, both were humble people. Subramaniam was more humble. When he conducted the exam only, we came to understand that our speed practically was 24 words per minute. And Subramanian told us for the first time, the speed required was 18 words per minute. So all of us found it very easy to come through the examination. We had both transmitting and receiving. And after this telegraphy course, we started our general rules. For general rules, our main instructor was, or rather our batch charge was for Mr. B.N. Gopalan. I need not say about any particular instructor how gentle they were, because they were all very gentle people. And Gopalan was very affectionate. He was loving us like an elderly man, a fatherly feeling he was transmitting to us. We started taking general rules, which covered signals, block working, general rules, systems of working, it was very important, definitions which railways use. That was the only thing most of us did homework to study it by heart, and I was very poor at it. Finally, I decided without definition, I can pass, because other things was very thorough with me. And another very important thing was about working of trains in special circumstances, system failure, communication failure. There are some conditions like that. And our more attention and more energy was spent for studying this, which probably many of my station master friends might not have used at all at any time in their service, but still we had to be prepared for that. The developments in railways rather was in the starting only by 73 early. Locos were steam, wagons were all four-wheeler, coaches were mostly wooden. These things are history now in railways. Currently, the people cannot see these things. Tiruchirappalli, we enjoyed. Block working rules was taken by Mr. V.R.G. Menon. And after that, we had a commercial, one Mr. Ramachandran, and another one Mr., if my memory is correct, Mr. Narayana Swami. They were teaching us the commercial manual, ticket stocking, ticket issuing, ticket indenting, paper tickets, card tickets, blank paper ticket, etc., etc., luggage booking, parcel booking, goods booking, railways balance sheet. Individual stations had to prepare balance sheet. Balance sheet liabilities, credits, assets, etc., etc. We had to study during that time. It was all explained in a very understandable way so that we could pick up very early, very fast. And we were all smart at these things. And the classes that also were over. And by the end, we were allotted for line training.